السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. Dear students at Faculty of Commerce English section, third grade economic department. Today we will have some questions about our last topics in our interesting topic, advanced macroeconomics. So we will have multiple choice. We have 4 answers. There is only one correct answer. First question is, if actual output is greater than potential output, there is an associated with a high level of activity and tendency for price level to rise. When we have actual output is greater than potential output, we face inflation and we will have inflationary gap. Inflationary gap فجوة تضخمية نحصل عليها نتيجة لارتفاع الأسعار، ارتفاع المستوى العام للأسعار بسبب actual output is greater than potential output. Which of the following is not a topic studied in macroeconomics? We have many topics studied in macroeconomics, like GDP, gross domestic product, unemployment rate, and inflation rate. These 3 topics we studied in macroeconomics. But when you have the price of IBM computers, this is on a micro level. A change in costs that shift the short-run aggregate supply curve. We have 2 shocks that can make a change in costs, which can make shift in the short-run aggregate supply, cost shock and supply shock. To classical economists, the equilibrium level of output at any time was a point of. بالنسبة للاقتصاديين الكلاسيكيين الايكوليبريم ليفل أو المستوى التوازني للناتج في أي وقت كان عند منطقة الفول امبلويمنت التوظف الكامل، ما كانوش بيؤمنوا بالبطالة. Nominal wages are slow to adjust to changing economic conditions or are sticky in the short run. When you have sticky wages, which is a nominal wage, are slow to adjust to changing economic conditions and changing in the price level. We have a sticky wage theory. Net investments. And for net investments, we have some equations. We had gross investment equals net investment plus depreciation. So if we had minus depreciation from 2 sides, so net investment equals gross investment minus depreciation. So net investment equals gross investment minus depreciation. The equation for GDP using the expenditure approach, and for GDP we can calculate GDP in 3 approaches: expenditure approach, income approach, and value added approach. For expenditure approach, GDP is equal to C plus I plus G plus X minus M. C is consumption expenditure plus investment expenditure plus government expenditure plus exports minus imports. If consumption is 30,000 when income is 35 and consumption increases to 36 when income increases to 43,000, the marginal propensity to consume. We have allow for calculating the MBC. MBC equal change in consumption over change in income. So when we calculate MBC, we have change in consumption, consumption increased from 30 to 36. So we have 36 minus 30 over 43 minus 35. And for a simple calculation, we will have 75 if injection power increases with the stability of withdrawal power, the national income. Injection power are the positive power. Injection power increase the national income, but withdrawal is the negative power, which decrease the national income. So when injection increasing while there is stability in withdrawal, so national income will increase. The objective of economics is to discover and explain the basic principles theories that govern our economic ideas, economic theories, or economic life. Objective of economics is to manage our economic life. So right answer is D. We have this table and we have solved it before in some examples. We will have the final answers to revise it. So amount of aggregate expenditure at point A. Amount of aggregate expenditure at point A, we can have amount of aggregate expenditure from the equation C plus I plus G plus net exports. But here there is no outward, there is no countries abroad. So we have an equilibrium of C plus I plus G. And for when we calculate it, we will have the equation of C equal 200 plus 0.6 YD. 0.6 YD multiply 200 plus 40 plus 80. So we have the right answer is 440. Second one, the amount of saving at point B, amount of saving, and how we can calculate the amount of saving. We know that saving must equal investment, but at equilibrium level. So we will have at point B for saving, saving is equal to the MBS multiply the GDP. So we have saving by negative 40. The equilibrium point, and we will have equilibrium point when GDP is equal to aggregate demand or aggregate expenditure. Here we can have an equilibrium point, and our equilibrium point is at point D, where GDP is equal to aggregate demand or aggregate expenditure is equal to 800. Value of multiplier. How we can calculate the value of multiplier? Value of multiplier, we can calculate it by two formulas. 1 over 1 minus MBC. 1 over 1 minus MBC, we have here MBC of 6 out of 10. So we have a multiplier of 2.5. 2.5. The amount of GDP is less than aggregate demand. Then the producers will, when the amount of GDP is less than the aggregate demand, producers are willing to expand their output. Expand their output. If actual output is greater than potential output, there is an inflationary gap. Potential GDP long-run aggregate supply is represented by vertical line at Y star, which means that it doesn't vary with, when we have a long-run aggregate supply, we have a supply curve that is not changing with the price level. The GDP gap is the difference between the GDP gap is the difference between actual real GDP and its potential or trend value. A period of very rapid increase in the overall price level will have a very increasing price level. We have hyperinflation. It's the remaining part of income. It's the remaining part of income that is not spent on current consumption, but is spent on future consumption. We have this concept for saving. Saving is the remaining part of income that is not spent on the current consumption, but it will be spent on the future consumption. Here we have all the laws for our equation. Before we will have the final answers. What is the value of national income? The right answer will be D, 1,690. What is the value of national domestic product? 1,630. What is the value of GDP by using income approach? It must equal the value of GDP by the expenditure approach. What is the value of personal income? Personal income, we can calculate it before deducting taxes, and disposable income, we can calculate it after deducting taxes. If consumption function is below the 45 degree, consumption function is below 45 degree. If we have a graph like that, and we have the 45 degree, and we have a consumption function that is below the 45 degree. This means we are in the negative saving area. Negative saving area and consumption exceeding income. Consumption exceeding income. We have the final answers for this problem. We had it before. Multiplier is equal to 2.5. An increase in government expenditure will raise income by 5,000. A decrease in taxes will raise income by 3,000. After these changes, the new equilibrium will be at 200,058. After increasing investment, we have the same number. The fraction of income, the fraction of a change in income that is consumed or spent. We have the fraction of a change in income that is consumed or spent. It's called the marginal propensity to consume. If MBS is 5 or 0.05, the MBC is, we have a formula that said MBS plus MBC equal 1. So when we have MBS, that is 0.05. So we have MPC, it's 95. Long-run macroeconomic equilibrium requires that real GDP be equal to potential GDP and corresponds to a situation of when we have a real GDP or long-run macroeconomics, we have real GDP equals potential GDP. So we have full employment, توظف كامل. If real GDP is less than potential GDP, full employment GDP, then we at this case have a recessionary gap. A recessionary gap happened when real GDP is less than potential GDP. Consumption spending depends on. We have two factors that depend on consumption. One of them is the possible income and wealth. And we have other factors like subject factors and other factors that can affect consumption, but real interest rate and business confidence are the main factors that affect investment. And we have this equation before. We have the value of multiplier equal to 5. We have the amount of new equilibrium equal 40,000. An increase in taxes by 2,000 will reduce income by 2,000. A decrease in government transfer payments by 2,000 will reduce income by 2,000. The new equilibrium will be 24,000. Number 42, changes in overall price level temporarily mislead suppliers about what is happening in the market in which they sell their output. When we have a zero confidence or we have a misleading, that is about misperception theory. Misperception theory, when we have changes in overall price level, which will lead to misleading suppliers about what is happening, and they can't know on what they should sell their output and what price they should constrain. 43, if real GDP is larger than potential real GDP, full employment, then and we have this question before, inflationary gap exists. The only case where we have long-run equilibrium as well as short-run equilibrium when is with a short-run equilibrium at real GDP just equal to potential GDP. The interest rate in Keynesian model, and we have in Keynesian model, we said that the interest rate is a monetary price, but market price for classical school. Investment spending depends on two factors, business confidence and real interest rate. So B and C are true. Scope of public finance includes public revenue, public debt, and public expenditure, all of the above. Among the factors affecting tax capacity of any economy are all the following except marginal tax price, economic surplus, average per capita income, and the state of economic activity. This is the least one that can affect tax capacity. According to Adam Smith, the state's role in economic activity should be limited to public defense, internal security, and judge all of the above. Last one. Burden cannot be transferred. Direct taxes, consumption taxes, income taxes, we have A and C. Direct taxes and income taxes are taxes that cannot be transferred. We cannot transfer this tax from consumer or from producer. When we have a direct tax, it means that the one that he had the taxes will pay for it. Thank you for your attention, and we will meet you in next sections.